Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brothers and sisters. This is Imam Omar Subedar here, joining you once again from Tafseer in 5. Today we're going to be looking at verse number 3 of Surah Al-Fatiha, and we're going to explore another attribute of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala within this verse. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in this verse, بَعْدَ أَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ بِسْمِ اللَّهِ الرَّحْمَنِ الرَّحِيمِ مَالِكِ يَوْمِ الدِّينِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that He is the sovereign and He is also the controller and owner of the day of compensation. Now, this particular verse is very interesting because it's something definitely that will resonate with all of us in this image conscious culture that we're part of. Typically what happens in this society, we're so worried about people's perception of us. We're so worried about what people are thinking over the way we've dressed, over the way we talk, over the way we conduct ourselves. We're just so worried about how people will judge us. But the thing that we fail to realize many times is that apart from a comment or apart from a thought that will now come from that individual or individuals, whoever they may be, there's nothing much more that they can offer. If I'm going to speak a particular way or I'm going to conduct myself in a particular way, either I'm going to be praised or I'm going to be criticized and nothing more. I'm not going to get any tangible benefit unless I'm applying for a job or something. That's a different story, but we're just talking about social interactions here. Now, when it comes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is the being that you and I need to be more conscious of, because He is going to give us compensation that is tangible. Either our actions are going to be good or bad. Good actions are going to yield good results in a tangible way, and bad actions are going to yield bad results, unless Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to drape us with His mercy and His forgiveness. So one thing He tells us, that there is going to be a day that is reserved for compensation. Just like we have a day that is reserved at our jobs, whether it's bi-weekly or at the end of the month, where we're going to collect the paycheck over the work that we have rendered. Likewise, there is going to be a day in which each and every single one of us is going to be compensated for the actions we resorted to in this phenomenon called life. Throughout this entire life that we had, 60 to 70 years on an average basis, what did we do? Was it good? Was it bad? Was it compliant to Allah's orders, or were we being defiant? Whatever the case may be, those actions will be questioned about. I will be accountable for them, and I will receive compensation for them. That day in which we are going to get that compensation is called here Yawmiddin, the day of compensation. In other places is called Yawm al-Qiyamah, the day of rising. Now that's a day in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to be the only sovereign out of everyone that's going to be present. There is going to be no sovereignty for anyone except for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He Himself tells us in Surah Al-Ghafir, which is chapter 40, verse number 16, He tells us one thing. He tells us about the nature of that day. He tells us, يَوْمَهُمْ بَارِزُونَ, the day when they will all be exposed. The entire creation, whoever it may be, everyone is going to be exposed. لا يخفى على الله منهم شيء. No one is going to be concealed from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah will ask one question, لِمَنِ الْمُلْكُ الْيَوْمِ, who is sovereignty for today? You may have the kings and the queens and the sovereigns of this world that walk the face of this planet, but on that day, there's only going to be one authority, and that is Allah's, and He makes that very clear, لِلَّهِ الْوَاحِدِ الْقَهَّارِ. On that day, sovereignty is only going to be for Allah, who is one, and who is the overpowering, the one that is dominant. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us on that day He is going to be fully in charge. Maliki yawmiddin. This word has been recited in two ways. You can say Malik or Malik depending on the form of recitation you resort to. If you say Malik, Malik means sovereign, Malik means controller, and one who is in charge, one who is basically owning the situation. So the bottom line is that if there's anyone we need to be image conscious in front of, it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because He is the only being in existence that will give us tangible compensation on a day that is reserved for compensating, and that is the day of Qiyamah, which each and every single one of us are inching towards every single second of our lives. That being said, we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He makes us succeed in this test of life. Until next time, Jazakallah khair. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.